John is a leadership coach, and he's kind of an academician when it comes to leadership, very focused on that topic. And he's been active as a ToastMaster member. And I want to thank John for giving us this speech. Thank you very much, John.
What's the title?
The title is Overthinkers Anonymous.
Thank you, Roy.
Thank you, Roy. And with that, Mr. Toastmasters, members, and guests, my name is John Estrada, and I am an overthinker. In fact, preparing for this speech, I overthought it for the last few days. It was only, kind of frustrating, but also ironic that I was talking about overthinking, and I was overthinking it. Now, how many of you out there consider yourselves overthinkers, to be honest? Oh, wow. Quite a few of you out there. I don't feel so quite alone anymore. Now, the first thing that we're going to talk about with overthinking is we've got to get real with everybody. That as overthinkers, we're not robots. We're not emotionless, next generation logic people that just use logic and thinking to things. We're emotional human beings. We have to be at peace with that and be able to manage those emotions. And the fact that overthinking, you end up having the biggest emotion, the negative emotion you need to manage, which is fear. Because that fear drives overthinking. Now for me, that fear did get in my head. My last talk, I didn't do too well. And I was thinking, I've got to do better. If I don't do better, then I may even do worse. And it just gets crazy in your head. And that can drive you crazy. And that's exactly what it did. And so I took a step back and I said, wait a second, I can't do this. So what I did was I applied something that I used to do all the time as a consultant to businesses. I looked at an old-fashioned process called risk mitigation and applied it to overthinking. That's how I did it. I first thought of, what's the worst things that could happen? What's the worst thing that could happen here?
Death.
I could sit here. Stage. Yeah, exactly. Or I could just sit here and I could get up and I could just sit here and just sweat it out and sweat through my shirt and wait to hope to God when Go Cool hits that green card over there. That could be the worst thing. But getting those things down on paper gets it out of your head. Mm-hmm. And then, but that's just the first step, getting everything out there. The second step is to rank them, to say, how likely is this really going to happen? Put 1 to 10, 1 not very likely, 2 very likely, and then also rank them the same. How devastating is this going to be if this happens? What's the worst going to happen? What's the severity of this? 1 being not very mild, 2, like Roy said, death, which is not realistic, but it could be one of your rankings. And then you can sort those by the most likely and the most severe. Then turn around and say, what are those top 5 things? And then figure out what you're going to do step by step to solve those problems. Then you try to have a 2-step process. First, you've gotten rid of all the anxiety, you put them on paper. And second, you turn around and have solutions for the rest. So your fear at this point should be kind of mellowed out. Now, I don't know about you all. I'm a super overthinker, not just your average overthinker. I not only have the fear, but I have the evil twin, perfectionism. It's the 1-2 punch of overthinking. It generally takes the overthinking into overdrive. Now, I even did this again, and we talked about I didn't do too well in my last speech, and that said I got to make up for it. I got to do better. I got to make it perfect. And what I did was I wrote down everything into my speech, word for word, wordsmithing, did everything perfect, try to make it perfect. I did that so much, I got so frustrated that I just deleted it all and started over. And I did that again and again. Talk about banging your head against the wall. I said, wait a second, again, I can't do this. Luckily, I remembered Savendu's talk we had last week. For those of you who weren't there, he talked about Eric Ries's lean startup process. He talked getting an early MVP, what they call minimum viable product, and then iterating from there. And I applied that process to overthinking. And what I did was, instead of trying to get the perfect speech up front, written and word for word, I had got the general concepts down and some things I really wanted to say, set up my camera, went for it. Well, I got maybe 3-4 minutes of a speech together, but I was able to get the bones together, get an early MVP, a minimal viable product, and then iterate, doing over and over until I got a speech that I was really happy with. And the whole process was, I was never able to get perfectionism in there because I was too busy doing. I was too busy doing it to overthink it. I was too busy adjusting and reacting. So that really helped me to kind of take back that perfectionism, stamp it down, and bring down the overthinking. Now, to kind of wrap things up for the day, getting close to the end of my time here, I was hoping that I would be able to, since we have a large audience of overthinkers out there, I hope I left you with a couple of real little tools out there. Because as you know, sometimes when you Google overthinking, you get some pretty weird results of solutions. But hopefully the 2 results that I gave you would be utilizing the risk mitigation tool to help overcome the fear, and then also utilizing the lean startup process to overcome the perfectionism part of overthinking has helped you today, and I thank you very much.